Too often, William Wordsworth is seen as primarily a pastoral poet, a poet who draws sustenance from the natural world, certainly, but also a poet who draws nourishment from childhood, a childhood of innocence, a childhood of lambs, a childhood of frolic, a childhood of unself-conscious joy. Well, certainly there are elements of these traditional pastoral types in Wordsworth. But I would say that first and foremost, Wordsworth is a poet of weirdness, in particular the weirdness of childhood. Remember, when you were a child, you did not yet know what was really right and what was really wrong, what was acceptable, what was not acceptable. You had not yet learned the rules of behavior, nor had you learned the rules of thought. Everything seemed strange and new and unpredictable. And this is, of course, one reason why we were often scared as children, but also this is a reason why we feel most alive as children. The older we get, the more we realize there are rules to the game, and life becomes increasingly predictable and monotonous. And in fact, we go through most of our days to try to avoid weirdness. Remember the famous moment that Wordsworth describes in the Prelude, when he says, "As a young boy, I stole a boat, and I went rowing strongly and steadily across a lake, when all of a sudden it seemed that a peak in the horizon raised up its head and started coming after me and hounded me across the water. And I rowed quickly back to the shore and ran all the way home through the dark, feeling as if I were being chased by these unseen spirits of judgment." Now, of course, the mountain did not really rise up and chase Wordsworth, the young Wordsworth. He felt guilt over stealing a boat, and possibly guilt too over being out late at night when his parents perhaps wanted him at home, though he did have a fairly lenient upbringing. But after this happens, here's what Wordsworth said. "After I'd seen that spectacle, after I had seen this mountain rise up, for many days my brain worked with a dim and undetermined sense of unknown modes of being. O'er my thoughts there hung a darkness, call it solitude or blank desertion. No familiar shapes remained, no pleasant images of trees or sea or sky, no colors of green fields, but huge and mighty forms that do not live like living men work through the mind by day, work slowly through the mind, move slowly through the mind by day, and were a trouble to my dreams. Huge and mighty forms that do not live like living men move slowly through the mind by day, and were a trouble to my dreams." This is not a pastoral moment. This is a moment where the young child has been shivered to the bone, shaken to the core, and there's a sense that the world is unpredictable. It is scary. It is indeed horrifying, but also it is exhilarating at the same time. This is why in the Prelude, Wordsworth says, my childhood was fostered alike by beauty and by fear. We can't forget that even at a young age, Wordsworth was experiencing the sublime, albeit he was not seeking out the sublime as he did as an adult, but he felt the sublime, this sense that the most powerful experiences are blendings of fear and fascination. So, for Wordsworth, a spot of time, a moment in our childhood that can be recovered to energize our adult malaise, is always a mixture of beauty and fear. And what we know as an adult is if, as a child, we have experienced this, we might be able to experience it again and thus alleviate our adult melancholy. So feeling comes in aid of feeling, and diversity of strength attends us if but once we have been strong.